Yoga Lakshmi, can you please share about the important terms that are used in the Montessori pedagogy that was introduced by Dr. Maria Montessori? When we go for a school visit and when the teachers are sharing some terminologies, it is quite hard if we don't have any background knowledge about Montessori or the pedagogy. So, can you share some light on that?
Okay. The first, I would say that parents should know, irrespective of which philosophy or whatever curriculum that you subscribe to. We have to realize that learning doesn't happen in a steady incline. It's not like that. It's more like this. So this is recognized by Maria Montessori. So within this, we call this a term called planes of development. So 0 to 3 is something that we called 0 to 6 actually. From birth to the 6 years of age is something that we call the absorbent mind. Like the word itself implies, it means children absorb everything around them, and that informs their building of personality, their building of character, their building of um, their education, to put it in the simplest of terms. Now we understand that there's a balance that needs to happen between nature and nurture. Nature, when we say nature, it means things that we are born with. Some of us are genetically predisposed to certain traits, be it attention deficiency, whatever, or be it that you're not interested in sounds at all, like you don't have the ear for music at all. You cannot for the life of you tell the difference between tones. So those things, it might just be the nature. It's just how you're wired, physically. But there's also something we recognize as nature. No matter how you are wired, what we give to you around you, how we prepare the environment around you. When I say environment, it's not just the classroom. It's not just the classroom that is designed for the kids. It's also the adults around him. The adult should also be a tool like any other activity. We have to prepare ourselves so that we can offer ourselves to the children. So that, and we have to prepare our life in a way that we can give the child time to be with nature, outdoors nature. Even this is something that she insisted. Everything, like, she insisted when wherever possible, children, they if they want to work outside under a tree, they should. This is something that she really stressed. But somehow over the period of time, because of urbanization, that aspect of Montessori fell to the wayside, I think. But when we say planes of development, absorbent mind, we have to be very conscious that what is presented or exposed to the child is as thoughtful as possible. It has to cater to his need. That doesn't mean you have to protect him in a bubble. No. It means that when he's in a situation that are beyond his control or beyond his comprehension, you as an adult are always there to help him guide through it, to make sense of it. You don't talk down to him. You talk to him. You help him understand using simple words, simple phrases. So these are the things that have, like, when we say absorbent mind, children are very absorbent. How you talk to others, how you address others, be it your co-workers or the help in your home, how you address them, that they will take it. When you're stressed, how you handle yourself, that they will take. Your facial expressions, that they will take in. The vocabularies that you're using, the sounds around them, the energy around them, that they're absorbing, like really soaking it in like a sponge. So this is what we mean. Within this absorbent period, 0 to 6, I'm sorry, within this absorbent period, 0 to 6, 0 to 3 is something we call unconscious worker. The child is not really conscious of choosing what he's absorbing. Everything. He's just absorbing everything. The child, the baby, he's just absorbing everything, and he is a teacher to himself. For example, babies, we don't teach them to crawl or roll over, we don't teach them to stand. They're all doing that by themselves. They will fall down and then they will get up. We don't even have to say, come on, get up, get up. All of this we don't have to do. They will do it by themselves, because there's an inner teacher asking them, driving them to do this. They will explore things through their mouth. Everything they take, they are putting in, because there are a lot of nerve endings in your tongue at that age. So through that sensory, they are taking in whatever they can, all the information, without being really unconscious about it. But the nerve, the neurons, the neural pathways, they are being set. So as much as possible at that age, being out in nature is very important, because there's, like, tactilely speaking, there's no other area that you could give a child where he can have a sense of touch, different textures, sound, feel of air on his skin, all of that. Like, you cannot give that in a enclosed environment. So the balance has to happen, like, balance of nature and nurture has to happen. Ages of 3 to 6 is when we say they are conscious worker. Now they are moving towards independence. We are giving them tools to become independent. Slowly, in any way that they can, we will give them tools, from their everyday chores till their learning capacity. So then they're starting to choose. Something within them is asking them to spend extra time in pouring activity. Sometimes we observe children, they would be like, working with all areas of the environment. But suddenly, this 3.5-year-old child, I see him working only with pouring activity, repeating that again and again and again, and even applying that to any other activity that he possibly can. So, Maria Montessori observes, so that this is something that we call conscious worker. And then she realized, so the period of learning, it happens in small bursts. Like, suddenly it'll come like this. For a period of time, this need to do something again and again and again is there, and then it'll go. And then again, another need to do something again and again. So these things, we use the term sensitive period. It means critical period. Actually, in modern medicine, it's called critical period. 100 years ago, she termed it as sensitive period. What it means is, sensitive period, every child goes through certain sensitive period for order. You would see normally a 3-year-old wanting a sense of order around his environment, around inside his environment, inside his home, inside his classroom. Everything has a place, and everything should be in its place. And like, if you give them a basket of mixed socks, they would match it. They love pairing it properly, folding it, putting it back. If they see the older kids not arranging their shoes properly inside their shoe shelf, they will go and arrange it. If they see other children not putting back the materials correct, it would be on the shelf, but not like in a straight way. They'll go straight in it. So we understand the child exhibiting his need for order, sensitive period for order, which means that this child, more than anything, more than language, math, whatever, he needs routine. A predictable routine is what he's looking for. Because once that is set, that need is addressed, then his inner need will ask him to concentrate on another skill. So then, in a mixed age classroom, we see children, usually they are young in age, they will exhibit this need, like, with very clear signs. And when then we tell the parents, he is exhibiting he is going through a sensitive period for order. Please make sure, as much as possible, he's given many opportunities to put away his toys, many opportunities to help you clean around the home, many opportunities to plan his day. You set a schedule, involve him in that as much as possible. Don't overwhelm him with too many choices. But, like, he can decide for himself whether first thing that he wants to do after brushing is sit outside, or start helping his mother at home. So these, like, give him two choices that he can choose from. So we tell the parents, like, these are the things that you can do to help him during this sensitive period. Once that is addressed, most often than not, children will exhibit another, after a couple of weeks or sometimes even months, they will exhibit another sensitive period for sometimes it could be language, sometimes it could be math, sometimes it could be creative activities. So these period, we know when the child is in that stage, he would only want to do that. And we recognize that, we acknowledge that, we give the child time to do that. So these terms, like, planes of development, it's not like, okay, my child has learned 1 2 3 4 5, now then he has to go 11 12 13 14 15, and then he has to learn number 1 to 100, and then he has to do addition, and then he has to, it's not like that. It's not like an incline that is happening. He needs to show these things, and he will. All children have, in my experience, no matter how um, we adults label them as challenging, but no matter how challenging they appear to be, their inner drive always guides them towards one thing. And if we catch them at that stage, if we give them enough opportunities to work independently on that skill, that child, once settled, he will move on to more challenging things on his own. We don't have to cajole him, we don't have to guide him anymore. So those things, those are the things we encourage parents to look for. We encourage parents to question also at school. If you're looking for an authentic Montessori school, you would have to ask these kind of questions. How do you address a child sensitive period? How would you ask the parents to help? Do you give the child enough time to explore his skills at that time? These are the questions that parents should ask for. Other terminology would be activity, work. A Montessori teacher rarely uses the word play. For us, when even children, when they're playing in the park or play area, we call that work, because that we recognize that as equally important as what we see seriously as adults. When we say work, we take it seriously, right? So we take a child's play also seriously. So everything is work for us. It doesn't mean we are not having fun. We are like very serious minded people, appadi illa. It's just that everything that the child is doing, we we value it, we see it as important. So we use the term work very much. And everything, like, when a child comes into a Montessori classroom, a primary Montessori classroom at the age of 3, the first thing that we would give the child is everyday practical life activities like sweeping, cleaning, wiping with a wet cloth, bringing the mop. In India, because roti making is such a common thing, we would give them chapati making activity, channa pounding. Like, those are grams that we pound, and the children eat the powder. Carrot grating. These are all because we want the children, up until at that point, they've been carried, they've been dressed, everything has been done to them, they've been fed, everything, it has been done to them. Here, for the first time in their life, they are being shown how to do things for themselves, by themselves. So once they start that, they would want to do that at home also. So we encourage parents to allow the children, to give them that space. It's not going to be perfect. They will make spills. It might mean extra work for you, but parents are stressing out. Oh my God, he's going to spill. I have to clean it up. It's extra work for me. I just want to get this work done with. But bear in mind that that child has been shown how to clean up after his mess also. It might not be perfect, but imagine at 3 he's starting. By the time he's an adult, this would not be such a huge thing for him. When his child is making a mess, he would not go out of his mind like we are going out of our mind. right? So he'll be like, okay, my child's making a mess. He'll clean it up. It won't be perfect, but with practice, he'll get there. That sense of calmness, it needs to happen, and we need to give that to this generation because we were not given that. And we were over provided for, over protected also, and we shouldn't make the same mistakes for our children. We have to give them the tools. We have to give them the tools to fail, to make mistakes, and then to correct it, starting with something as simple as cleaning up a spill, sweeping up a spill. So when children start doing that, we expect parents to encourage them, give them opportunities at home, make sure all those materials like, the brooms, the wiping cloth, or the mortar and pestle, all of that are within the child's reach. So when he wants, he can work with that. Only we all want this to happen for independence. And the other next layer of learning that's happening is the children are fine tuning and mastering their motor skills, gross motor skills, the way they move their body, their limbs, and their fine motor skills, their fingers. When this is done to the maximum capacity, writing is not a huge deal for them. We think children are not writing because they are lazy. No, they're not. They're struggling to write because the preparatory work for that skill has not been done. Their muscles should be ready. So these are the preparatory steps. So that's why we start with EPL, everyday practical life activities, and then we move towards sensorial, where one particular sense is isolated, so the child can concentrate only on that and work with the materials. For example, you would see a pink tower. Those are cubes that the children will stack one on top of the others. The bottom one would be the biggest one, and the top one would be the smallest one. And usually when you see toys, it would be like, one cube would be one color, it'll have one design, another cube will be another color with another design. But we don't want that. We want the child to only concentrate on the difference in size. So all the cubes are pink in color with the same texture, everything. So the only thing the child is concentrating then is on the difference in size. So he knows that he has to stack them accordingly. And all the materials again has something called control of error. They are didactic in nature, meaning once a child's working, once we present something to the child from like any activity, EPL, everyday practical life, to sensorial, to math, whatever it is, we make sure we also present how to check their work, how to correct it by themselves. So, for example, they're pouring, they spill. So when we present, we'll also make sure we're spilling a little bit. And then we'll show them where the wiping cloth is. Take it, come wipe it, then go back, put it for hanging in a cloth's line, and then come back, put the materials on a tray, go back to the shelf, put it back, come back, take your chowki that you've chosen to work, put that back, and then the sitting mat you're folding, that you have to put that back. So you understand how many learning is happening. The child is making cleaning after himself. He is deciding what to do. He's taking charge of his environment. Same thing with the sensorial. For the pink tower, the smallest cube at the top, once the child has learned to stack it correctly, we show the child to check whether this is correct, the way that you've stacked it correct. The smallest cube, we'll show the child, like, if you keep it here, it should be of the same length. I'm sure I'm not making sense. I wish I had the material. But the child would, like, to put it mildly, more clearly, all the materials, when the child is working with it, they do not need the teacher to come and tell them whether it is right or wrong. They are shown how to check their work, how to check where they've gone wrong, and they are doing it by themselves. This is so for all the materials, even in math, even when they're working at something more challenging like addition, 4-digit addition, we give them, like, we don't even have to give them sums. We've prepared the equations, it's in a box, they can take it, they'll work with it. They are shown how to check their work with the material. The material itself will show them whether the answer is right or wrong. So once they are done working with the material, they are not coming to the teacher to ask, ma'am, is this right or wrong? They are in charge of their learning. They are responsible for their learning. And trust me, this might seem a very alien concept for other adults, because how can you trust a child? How can you make sure that he's not cheating? Is the common thing that parents ask me. And we tell them, for our children in that environment, trust is not an alien concept. Once that is there, children do not feel the need to cheat, because for them it is not about showing that, okay, I've done it correctly, I'm getting marks, I have to ask auntie, I'm getting a star from auntie, I'm getting a good job from auntie. None of this is happening. For them, the inner need is to learn. That's it. No external acknowledgement, appreciation, none of that they need. And we don't give. When we see a child doing serious work, we don't say, good job. We don't say, really great, Arjun. What a great job. We do none of that. When they come to us, happy that they've done a work, we say, I noticed that, you were able to do this. When the last time that you were able, when we were working with it, you were struggling. I'm happy to see that you kept with the work, that you stayed with the work, and now you mastered it. இப்படிதான் நாங்க சொல்லுவோம். We acknowledge the struggle, the path of the child, and we leave it at that. So then they know that not giving up is valued. Going back to the material to learn, failure is okay, but not giving up is valued. So இதுதான் எங்களோட forms of acknowledgement. So things like this, they do not come for us. And since they do not come to us to see whether the work that they've done is right or wrong or whatever, there is no judgment. When there is no judgment, why would they cheat? So I tell the parent, trust the children, do not judge them. When they show you something that you're uncomfortable with, check in with yourself. What about the child is asking you to react in a judgmental way? Most often it would be an answer within you, not on the child. And then when you have a clearer picture, you can help the child get there. You can guide the child get there. So these are the things the parents have to be aware of. Everything, complete independence as much as possible. Strict rules in the classroom are there. Freedom within limits. Responsibility is something that we do not negotiate with the kids. At the same time, they know why these rules are necessary. All of this. Towards the end, the oldest child, he'll actually start teaching the younger children. And I love that. We want that to happen. So once we know something, when we are teaching, we know, right? All of a sudden, we felt like once we start to teach, whatever we learned, somehow it gets deeper into us. We understand it a bit more. Like, there's another level of learning that has happened within us once we start to teach. That is happening for the older kids in the environment. The younger kids, they see, they don't look at the older kids as annas or akkas or someone other than themselves. For them, they're all at the same level. So once they see the older kids working with these complicated concepts, they would feel like, I too can do it. I too can do it. I will also do it. I am progressing towards that. That is the attitude that they have, the confidence that they have. So these are the things that you have to look for in a Montessori environment, an authentic Montessori environment. You have to see whether the child is allowed to follow his sensitive period, whether the child is encouraged to check his work independently, whether the children are encouraged to mingle with each other. So these pointers parents should look out for.
Thank you so much, Yogalakshmi, for taking us to a virtual tour for a Montessori school that is handling kids between 0 to 6 years. all the inputs you gave to the parents were more of the things where they could ask for and get the informations either from the Montessori teachers of the school or the Montessori parents of the school. But involving the senses we have when we enter into a Montessori school, what are all the tangible things we have to look in when selecting the Montessori school?
Huh. So, the tangible things, the immediate things that will inform you this school is committed to this kind of education is, you would see that everything is for children, not designed for the parents. So, most Montessori, proper Montessori schools, they would not have cartoons on the wall, they would not have animated animals or colorful toys. You would not see any of that. You would see a classroom where all the walls, as much as possible, they have low shelves and they are filled with materials, and those materials might seem either boring to you or complicated for you. When you think you don't know what is happening here, then it is a proper Montessori environment, that, like, physically speaking. uh, Regarding the other aspects, like these nuances in the Montessori environment, this you can get a sense of if you ask to see the work of the older children. Like, they would, like, having written some things, they would have filed it away. If you When you take a look at the work of the older children, it shouldn't be like a prescribed syllabus. So when you take it a look, if they give you a homework notebook, then that's your red flag. If they give you a file where every page is filed away individually, then you know this child is choosing to do this. um, if you look at his writings, it should be like a lot of spelling mistakes should be there, because they're writing phonetically. If the spellings are too perfect, here and there, the teacher might have asked him to remember, we work with sight words, do you remember, so please can you write the correct spelling. That might happen, but if it's too perfect, then again that is a red flag to you that within the Montessori environment, traditional method is being taught. So these are the tangible things that you can look for. You can also ask the adults in the environment how important they see the EPL section of the classroom as. Or better yet, you ask them which part of the environment you think is the most important. A proper Montessorian would say EPL. For parents, it might seem like, what, sweeping and mopping and chapati making, those are important, mirror cleaning, that is the most important. But yes, that is the most important. That lays the foundation for the children to concentrate on a work for more than 30 minutes. That lays the foundation for children to have a sense of self efficacy. I'm not saying esteem. Self esteem is something that derives its need from the outside world. Like, the outside world need to encourage the child, you're doing good, you're a good person. That is esteem, right? But self efficacy is knowing that you can have control of your sense of self. You can make decisions for how you want to do, how your day to go about, right? So that is self efficacy, knowing that your actions will decide the rest of your day. That is self efficacy. So if a teacher says, I think a math or a language is the most important, then that again is a red flag, because we insist the child spends as much time as possible in the EPL. Because if they have not spent enough time there, then they would struggle in other areas. It's just a fact, you know and also, Maria Montessori, even when she was a doctor, when she was only a doctor, to her patients, who would come with cold, fever, she would tell them, this will go away on its own, but you have to make sure you're making your bed. She would tell the men, once you get up, make sure you make your own bed. You help your wife with making soup. You sweep the house. All of this you do, you will feel better, she would say. And then the men would be like, me? Sweep the floor? And she'd like, this is doctor's order. You have to do it. And she made her patients do it actually. And they came back and told her, yes, it's actually working. So there's some like movement is so crucial. We think sitting in a classroom learning, that is education for the brain, and movement outside separate in a play area is education for a body. But it is actually, you cannot separate the two. Healing also, movement and healing is interconnected. It very much interdependent on each other. Same for learning, education. So that is why children are moving about in the classroom. They can choose where they want to work, where they want to put their work mat, where they want to put their chowki. They are moving about all day because it has to happen. Learning and movement together, they are like this. So those are the things that you can actually see, physically see. And Harvard study, I think, I'm not sure, Harvard Grant study, the longest longitudinal study, 75 years, it has found that children who do chores at home, they are more successfully adapted adults in the workplace. Think about that for a minute. Children who grew up doing chores, those children are the kind of grow up to be the kind of adults who go places in the workplace, who make changes in the world, who become politicians, who roll up their sleeves and let's get into the mess, let's fix it. That kind of attitude, that can only come when you are knee deep in your everyday life working for yourself, not things being done to you or for you. So this aspect, if this is valued in a Montessori community, in a Montessori school, for the most part, yes, you can just go and reassure.
It was so wonderful that you shared about how to choose a Montessori school. But going forward with the over 6 years of age, I wanted to add on some more questions, which includes the pregnancy and the birthing process. Me, as a person who is coming from a Steiner pedagogy, we talk a lot about the birthing process and the pregnancy period when we are writing the biography of a very young child. I would like to know if Dr. Maria Montessori, who herself is a pediatrician, has given any informations about how we have to carry out our pregnancy and how the delivery, the labor room things impact the children's development.
Um, Unfortunately, no. She didn't delve into that aspect of a child's life. She was more concerned with from birth till 24 years, often a human being's life. So her work was primarily, mostly from 3 years of age till um, 12 years of age. And after that, she did give, after 12, after you're done with your elementary high school years, she gave a kind of like an outline of philosophy, how, what are the needs that those young adults are looking for, like how should we cater to those needs. So though that aspect of, only till that she was able to, because her life work, she was too busy to really get involved in this aspect of a child's life.
Thank you so much, Yoga, for clarifying that point. And to be continued in the next pod.